The moment I opened the door, my world shattered. There she was, my wife, Sophia, her body tangled between two other men. The room was thick with the scent of sweat and desire, the air pulsing with a heat that had nothing to do with me. Her skin glistened, her back arched, her lips parted in pleasure. It was the kind of scene I'd imagined 1,000 times, but never like this, never with someone else, and definitely not with two strangers. My name is Marcus Reed, and I'm 36 years old. I've been a soldier for 15 years. I've seen things that would haunt most men's nightmares, but nothing prepared me for the sight of my wife betraying me like this. I had come home from a year-long deployment overseas. I wanted to surprise Sophia, so I showed up 2 weeks early, thinking it would be the best surprise ever. I thought I'd come home to a loving embrace, a passionate kiss, and the feeling of home. Instead, I walked straight into a living nightmare. I felt my blood boiling as I watched Sophia's head roll back in pleasure. She hadn't even noticed me standing there, frozen in shock. The two men were completely focused on her, their hands sliding over her body like it belonged to them. My fists clenched, my heart pounded, and I felt a rage so deep it nearly consumed me. I cleared my throat loudly, and the entire room seemed to freeze. Sophia's eyes flew open, and when she saw me standing there, her face went pale. The pleasure disappeared, replaced by horror and guilt. One of the men, a tall, muscular guy with dark hair, pulled away, grabbing for his clothes like a coward caught in the act. The other man just stared at me, defiance in his eyes, as if daring me to do something about it. "Marcus," Sophia whispered, her voice trembling. She pulled the sheets up to cover herself, her hands shaking. I didn't know you were coming home." I let out a bitter laugh. "Clearly. Looks like you've been busy while I was out there risking my life." One of the men stepped forward, holding up his hands like he was trying to calm me down. "Look, man, it's not what it looks like." I cut him off, my voice cold as ice. "You've got about 5 seconds to get out of my house before I show you exactly how angry I am." He didn't waste a second. He grabbed his clothes and ran out the door, nearly tripping over himself. The other man, the one who dared to look me in the eye, took his time getting dressed. He had the audacity to smirk as he walked past me. Sophia looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't care. I was done caring. "How long?" I asked, my voice shaking with rage. She swallowed hard. 6 months. I shook my head, feeling disgusted. 6 months. While I was out there fighting, you were here doing this. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "It didn't mean anything." Didn't mean anything. I took a step closer, my eyes blazing. "You've destroyed our marriage. You've destroyed us. I hope it was worth it." I turned and walked out of the room, slamming the door behind me. My heart pounded, my vision blurred with rage. But I wasn't going to let this break me. I was going to take back control of my life, and I was going to make them all pay for what they'd done. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I slammed the door behind me, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would explode out of my chest. Rage, pain, and betrayal mixed together into a storm that I couldn't control. I stood there in the hallway, fists clenched so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I had fought in war zones, faced death more times than I could count, but nothing had ever felt as raw and painful as this. I took a deep breath, fighting to calm myself. I could still hear her inside, sobbing. Good. She should cry. She should feel every ounce of the pain she'd caused me. But standing here doing nothing wasn't going to be enough. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make her feel as broken and betrayed as I felt in that moment. I stormed down the hallway and into the kitchen, needing a drink to calm myself down. I poured whiskey into a glass, my hand shaking so badly that I spilled some. The burn of the alcohol did nothing to dull the fire inside me. 6 months, I muttered to myself. 6 months of lies, 6 months of betrayal, all while I was fighting for a future I thought we both wanted. I slammed the glass down on the counter, the sound echoing through the empty house. Memories of her flooded my mind. Our wedding day, the way she looked at me like I was her entire world. And now, to know that she had given herself to 2 strangers. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound I'd ever experienced. The front door creaked open, and I turned to see Sophia standing there, wrapped in a robe, her face streaked with tears. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You have nothing to say to me," I said coldly. "Please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking." I let out a bitter laugh. "You didn't just make a mistake. You destroyed everything. You threw away our life together for what? Some cheap thrill?" "It wasn't like that," she said, taking a step closer. "I've been so lonely without you, Marcus. You were gone for so long. I felt like I was losing you." "So your solution was to sleep with other men?" I snapped. "You didn't lose me, Sophia. You threw me away." Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "I love you. I'll do anything to make it up to you. Please, we can fix this." "No," I said, my voice cold. "There's no fixing this. You made your choice. Now, I'm making mine." She fell to her knees, sobbing. "Marcus, please, I'll do anything." I stared down at her, feeling nothing but emptiness. "You're going to regret what you did. I promise you that." I turned and walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I got into my car and drove, not knowing where I was going, just needing to get away. The anger simmered beneath my skin, an unrelenting heat that I knew wouldn't go away until I did something about it. I pulled over to the side of the road and grabbed my phone. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Tyler Donovan, an old friend from the Army. Tyler owed me a favor, and he was the kind of guy who could get things done, no questions asked. I hit call, and he picked up on the second ring. "Marcus, been a while, man." "I need your help," I said, my voice tight. "I'm dealing with a situation." "Say no more," he replied. "Where are you?" I gave him my location, and 20 minutes later, Tyler pulled up in a black SUV. He got out, and we shook hands. "What's going on?" he asked, his eyes narrowing as he took in my expression. "I just walked in on my wife with 2 men," I said, my voice low. "I want to make them pay." Tyler nodded slowly. "You want this done quietly or loud?" "Quiet for now," I said. "But I want them to suffer." Tyler's lips curled into a smile. "Consider it done. Give me their details." I described the 2 men as best I could, and Tyler pulled out his phone, making a few quick calls. "We'll find them," he promised, "and we'll make sure they regret what they did." "Good," I said, my jaw clenched. "And Sophia, I want her to know what it feels like to be betrayed." "You thinking revenge?" Tyler asked. Something like that, I said. I want her to feel the same pain I'm feeling right now. Tyler nodded. We'll make it happen. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing Sophia with those men, replaying it over and over in my mind. The betrayal was like a knife twisting in my gut, and I knew I wouldn't rest until I'd made them all pay. The next morning, Tyler called me. We've got a lead. One of the guys works at a gym downtown. You want to pay him a visit? Absolutely, I said. I drove to the gym, adrenaline pumping through my veins. I found him easily. The tall, muscular guy who dared to smirk at me in my own house. He was lifting weights, oblivious to the storm heading his way. I walked up to him, my presence blocking out the light. He looked up, his expression turning to surprise. You? Yeah, me. I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him to his feet. You remember me? He swallowed hard. Look, man, I didn't know she was married. Save it, I growled. You had your fun. Now it's my turn. I dragged him out the back door, away from the gym cameras. Tyler was waiting, and together, we made sure he understood the consequences of crossing me. By the time we were done, he was shaking and terrified. Don't ever touch another man's wife again, I said coldly, or next time you won't be walking away. We left him there, broken and humiliated. It was a start, but I wasn't done yet. Sophia was next, and I knew exactly how to make her feel the pain she'd caused me. After leaving the gym, I sat in my car, the adrenaline still pumping through my veins. One man had been dealt with, but I wasn't satisfied. The pain of Sophia's betrayal gnawed at me, an unrelenting ache that wouldn't stop until I'd made her feel the same. She had to understand what it felt like to be broken, betrayed, and left with nothing. I called Tyler again. We're just getting started, I said. He chuckled. What's next on the agenda? I want Sophia to know what it feels like to lose everything, I said. She took my trust and threw it away. Let's make her life fall apart, piece by piece. Tyler was silent for a moment. All right, I've got some ideas. Let's ruin her in the same way she ruined you. Later that day, I drove back home, my mind racing with the plan Tyler and I had come up with. When I walked through the door, Sophia was waiting for me, her eyes swollen from crying. Marcus, please, she begged, her voice trembling. I know I hurt you, but I love you. We can fix this. I leaned against the door, arms crossed. You want to fix this? You want me to believe that you love me after what I saw? She took a step closer. I'll do anything. I'll prove to you that I'm sorry. I stepped forward, letting her believe that I was ready to forgive. Anything, huh? She nodded quickly. Yes, anything. Then let's see if you're really sorry. I forced a smile. How about you tell me exactly what happened? Every detail. Her eyes widened, and she hesitated. Marcus, No, I cut her off. You said you'd do anything, so start talking. She swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes again. It started about 6 months ago. I was lonely. You were gone, and I missed you so much. I met those men at a party. One thing led to another, and I made a horrible mistake. A mistake? Sleeping with 2 men at once isn't a mistake. It's a choice, I snapped. She dropped to her knees, sobbing. I was weak, and I regret it more than anything. I hate myself for what I did. I leaned down, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look at me. Good, you should hate yourself, because you're about to find out what real pain feels like. I walked out of the room, leaving her on the floor. That night, Tyler and I set the plan in motion. We started by exposing Sophia's affair to her closest friends. I sent an anonymous message to her best friend, detailing everything I'd seen. I included photos that I'd taken before confronting her, images that captured her betrayal. It didn't take long for the news to spread. Sophia's reputation was destroyed, her social circle shattered. She called me, begging for forgiveness, but I ignored her. I wanted her to feel isolated and alone. Then we took it a step further. Tyler tracked down her workplace and leaked information about her affair. Her boss, who valued professionalism, wasn't happy about the scandal, and Sophia was soon called into HR for a meeting. By the end of the week, she'd lost her job. I watched it all unfold, feeling a grim satisfaction. I'd lost everything, so now she would too. But I wasn't done yet. A few nights later, I returned home. Sophia looked like a ghost of herself, pale and broken. "You win, Marcus," she said softly. "You've ruined me. Is that what you wanted?" "No," I said, my voice cold. "I want you to feel what it's like to be left with nothing, and I'm almost there." She looked up, a spark of hope in her eyes. "So, you'll forgive me?" I shook my head. "No, I'll never forgive you." I walked out, leaving her alone in the wreckage of her life. But there was one more thing left to do. I still had one more target. The second man. The next morning, I met Tyler in an empty parking lot. "It's time to deal with the second man," I said, my voice cold and determined. Tyler nodded. I tracked him down. He's a bartender at a club downtown. We'll catch him when his shift ends. As the sun set, Tyler and I positioned ourselves near the club, waiting for him to appear. I spotted him around midnight, stepping out into the cool night air, looking relaxed and carefree. It made my blood boil. This man had invaded my life, crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and he was walking around as if nothing had happened. Tyler and I approached him quietly, and before he knew what was happening, we grabbed him and dragged him into the alley. I slammed him against the wall, fury burning in my eyes. "You remember me?" I growled. He squirmed, trying to break free. "Hey man, I don't want any trouble." "You should have thought of that before you laid a hand on my wife," I snarled. "Now you're going to pay for it." His eyes widened. "Look, I didn't know she was married. She never said anything about you." "I don't care about your excuses," I interrupted. "You ruined my life. Now I'm going to ruin yours." Tyler leaned in, his expression dark. "You're going to tell us everything about what happened that night, every dirty little detail, and then you're going to disappear. If I ever see your face again, it'll be the last thing you ever see. Understood?" He nodded quickly, panic written all over his face. "Yes, I'll do whatever you want." "Talk," I demanded. He told us everything. How he'd met Sophia at a party, how she'd pursued him, how he'd gotten caught up in the thrill of it. He swore he hadn't known about me, that he'd never have touched her if he had. I listened, my anger simmering, but I wasn't satisfied. "You're going to pay for this," I said. "I want you out of this city. Pack your things and disappear. If I find out you're still here, you'll regret it." He nodded frantically. "I'll leave. I'll be gone by tomorrow." Tyler smirked, his eyes cold. "And just to make sure you never forget, We're leaving you with a reminder." Before the man could react, Tyler landed a punch that sent him sprawling to the ground. I joined in, letting all my pent-up rage out on him. By the time we were done, he was bruised, bloodied, and broken. "You ever touch another married woman again, and you won't get off this easy," I hissed, leaning down so he could see the fire in my eyes. He nodded, tears of pain streaming down his face. "I swear, I'll leave. I'll never do it again." We walked away, leaving him lying in the alley, broken and humiliated. It was a start, but I wasn't satisfied. There was one more piece to this twisted puzzle. Sophia. I drove back home, feeling like a man possessed. The moment I walked through the door, I found her sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the wall. She looked up as I walked in, her eyes hollow. "You've destroyed me, Marcus. Is that what you wanted?" I stared at her coldly. "I wanted you to understand what it feels like to be betrayed, to be broken. Now you know." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I've lost everything. You were my everything." I shook my head. "You should have thought of that before you threw it all away." She got up, her body trembling. "You can't hate me forever, Marcus. You loved me once. Can't we find a way to get past this?" I stepped closer, my voice cold and sharp. "Do you know what I did while I was deployed? I fought for my life, for our future. I killed men. I faced death every single day. And the only thing that kept me going was the thought of coming home to you. Do you have any idea what it feels like to know that everything I fought for was a lie?" She reached for me, and I stepped back. "You wanted to feel desired, to feel alive. Congratulations. You've got what you wanted. But now, I'm going to take back what you stole from me." I grabbed my phone and made a call. "Yes, this is Marcus Reed. I'd like to file for divorce immediately." Sophia's face went pale. "No. Marcus, please. We can work this out." I shook my head. "There's nothing left to work out. You destroyed our marriage the moment you let those men touch you. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." The divorce went through faster than I'd expected, thanks to the evidence I'd gathered. Sophia lost everything: the house, the financial security, and the life we'd built together. She was left with nothing but the memories of her mistakes. Months later, I heard that she'd moved to another city, a broken shell of the woman she once was. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life, stronger than ever. I wasn't the same man who'd left for deployment a year ago. I was sharper, colder, and more determined than ever to live life on my terms. In the end, revenge didn't heal the pain of betrayal, but it made me feel alive. It reminded me that I was in control of my own fate, and that no one could break me, because I was Marcus Reed, and I'd faced death and walked away stronger.